What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Pigskin Pete. Happy Wednesday to everybody. We're 3 short days away from the Miami Hurricanes traveling up to Clemson, South Carolina, the original Death Valley, for a heavyweight fight of epic proportions. Now, I'm going to do a preview of this game today. Yeah, I'm biased. I don't know what gave it away. I'm a little biased, yes, I'm admitting that. But this is not going to be a fan trash talk video, okay? If you do want to do some fan trash talk with me, tune in tonight at 10 p.m. for my live call-in show, and you can call and do all the trash talking you want. Right now, I'm just going to give you my honest opinion the best way that I can, and all that is coming up in less than 30 seconds. All right, so this weekend, the biggest game of the weekend in all of college football, or at least the most interesting, all you hear everybody say is how terrible the ACC is. The ACC is unwatchable. They're no good. They suck. Who cares? But everybody and their mother will be watching this game. So there can't be that uninteresting when all eyes in the country are on this game, mainly because of Clemson, but also because it's Miami. And we haven't seen a top 10 matchup in the ACC in quite a while, folks. So this should be a good one. The first thing I want to do here is discuss exactly how important of a game this is to each team individually. I personally believe that this game is more important to Miami's program than it is to Clemson. And this is just this has to do more with history than actual standings or rankings or anything like that. The loser of this game is not even out of the playoff picture, no matter who it is. Now, the loser of this game would have to run the table with the rest of the season and win the ACC. So it would either be a rematch between Miami and Clemson later on in the season. Whoever wins the ACC, as long as they only have one loss, is getting into the playoffs. Okay, now 2-loss ACC team, maybe not so much. Quite frankly, I don't see a 2-loss team winning the ACC. I believe whoever wins the ACC is going to be a 1-loss or undefeated team. But as far as what it means to each team or program, Miami is trying to prove that they are back on the level of a Clemson, of a Ohio State, of an Alabama, of a Georgia. You get what I'm saying? The top tier, the top echelon teams in the country. Miami really, really wants to be back. And can you blame them? This is not trash talk. It's been a long time since Miami's relevant. We thought they were back in 2017 when they went 11-0, and they lost their last 3 games. Lost to Pitt, got blown out by Clemson in the ACC championship, and then they went and lost their bowl game against Wisconsin in Miami. After that 2017 season, 2 mediocre or bad seasons in a row to follow that up. They went through a coaching change. Mark Richt either gets fired or retires or whatever it was, a mutual decision to part ways, whatever was going on there. They hire Manny Diaz, which, by the way, I think was a great, I've said it from the beginning, I think he's going to be a good coach at Miami. He fits the culture there. It's just certain coaches in college football fit the personality of the program, and Manny Diaz fits Miami's personality to a T. Now, talent has never been a problem for the Miami Hurricanes. They have had talent all over the field for the past 20 years and just haven't been able to do much with it. It's the key positions that you have to look at. It's the big 3 positions to look at. Defensive line, offensive line, quarterback. Now, the other positions are important too, don't get me wrong. But Miami has not had all 3 of those things working in their favor at the same time for any one season. They seem to have it this year. Look, the acquisition of Derek King was huge to this football team. King is a true dual threat, and when you pair him up with Cameron Harris, you've got one of the best running attacks in the country. And when you flip over to the other side of the ball, defensively, Miami looks as good as anybody in the country. Now, we're going to look at some statistics later in this video. I'm not a big stat guy, and you'll find out why. If I told you that Miami was ranked 29th overall in defense, you'd say there's no way there's 28 teams out there with better defenses than Miami. So, especially this early in the season, stats can be confusing. But the bottom line is they are good at all 3 levels. They can get after the passer, their linebackers are good in space, and their cover corners are great too. So overall, offensively and defensively, this is the most well-rounded Miami team that we've seen in a long, long time. Let's go look at the other sideline. The boys in orange, Clemson Tigers. What do you say about Clemson that's not already being said? Every year, Clemson's supposed to fall off the map, right? They lose this player to the NFL. They lose that player to the NFL. They're gonna go back to being 8-4 or whatever it is every year. If I had $1 for every time I've heard that, I wouldn't be on YouTube right now. I'd be sitting in Tahiti somewhere. Everybody on the planet that is not a Clemson fan wants to see Clemson lose this weekend. Now ask yourself, why would that be? I don't know. Is it because Clemson fans are jerks? Is it because people don't like Dabo Swinney? Is it because people don't like that hill they run down before the game? No, it's none of those things. It's because they're one of the best programs in America and everybody's tired of seeing them win. They have the face of college football, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, the best player in the country, period. At running back, they have what many people consider to be the best running back in the country. They have the best defensive coordinator in the country. And outside of Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, you won't find more 5 stars on the field at one time. Now, none of those things matter if you don't execute on game day, so that goes without saying. If you're going to try to poke and prod and find a hole in this Clemson team, it's certainly not talent, okay? It is youth. That is clearly the issue right now. More playing time you get, the better they get. That's just the way it goes when you're playing a bunch of freshmen and a bunch of sophomores, especially on the defensive side of the football. It's going to take a little time to get going. Last week's game against Virginia was probably the best thing that could have happened to this group. Well, first of all, for a lot of reasons, it got them some experience against a decent team. So they weren't just going out there and beating up on the Citadel and then have to face Miami. They actually got to face a real opponent with real good players on it, with a real good scheme, and they had to play 4 quarters and overcome it. Now, they still won by 18 points. Now, Virginia's not as good as Miami. This is the rub. So, but getting that experience, I think, was good for this Clemson defense. This is one reason I believe that this Miami and Clemson game on Saturday could be fairly high scoring. You're not shutting down this Clemson offense. You can slow them down, but shutting them down is out of the question. I also believe, because of the youth on Clemson's defense, that this could be a high-scoring game for the Miami Hurricanes as well. So I'm looking somewhere around 40-30, 45-31, something like that as a final score for this game. Now, luckily, Clemson gets back 2 starters that they did not have play last week, 2 key starters on the defensive line, Tyler Davis and Justin Foster. Now, Trevor Lawrence last week by Virginia's defense was hit, I think, 4 or 5 times. Can't let that happen against Miami's defense. They need to do a better job of protecting him. Fortunately enough, Trevor is a guy that can move around, get out of the pocket, and even make big plays with his legs. He's way underrated as a runner. He is an actual dual threat. If you just look at the numbers, He runs a lot. And when he runs, he's effective. You know, people think there's only one dual threat quarterback in this game. That's untrue. Trevor Lawrence is a very effective runner. He does quarterback design runs 8 to 10 times a game, and that doesn't even count the ones where he's just flushed out of the pocket and has to improvise and makes big plays with his legs. Trevor Lawrence is a true dual threat. In fact, I think he leads the team in rushing touchdowns so far this year, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's go ahead and look at some statistics here on the screen. And this is not to look at stats. Stats, I think, do not tell the whole story, but it's more just to highlight certain players and certain things. All right, so here you go. This is Miami's stats here. We're just going to look at some individual players here and see if we can see anything that stands out. Derek King, 63 of 94 on the year with a 67% completion percentage, which is pretty good, 736 yards, 6 touchdowns through the air. All right, we see Cameron Harris here, the running back. He is the linchpin of this offense. Obviously, Derek King is the one that has to be contained because he's the quarterback. But when you put the dual threat aspect of Derek King and you have Harris in the backfield, who is absolutely balling out this year, he looks unstoppable. That is the real problem for any defense to try to contain that. Just look at his numbers. 38 carries, 311 yards, 8.2 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns. Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on him. Look at Derek King's rushing numbers here. 28 carries for 157 yards, 5.6 yards per average for him, and he's got a rushing touchdown. Brevin Jordan, the tight end, is having a great year so far. 15 receptions for 212 yards. That's just over 14 yards on average per reception, and 3 receiving touchdowns. He's probably not any Kyle Pitts or anything, but he is definitely one of the best receiving tight ends in the country. There's no doubt about that. All right, so you look at the leading scorers on this team. Cameron Harris and Brevin Jordan are the main 2 guys, and of course, Derek King when you add in the passing touchdowns as well. All right, let's take a look at Clemson here. Trevor Lawrence is 55 of 75 through the air with a 73.3% completion percentage. Pretty good. 848 yards, and that's with let's see, he's played a total of 8 quarters now in 3 games. So the first 2 games he barely played the second half. The first 4-quarter game that he played was last week against Virginia. 7 touchdowns through the air and 0 interceptions. It has been now 11 games since Trevor Lawrence has thrown an interception. DJ Uiagalelei, the backup and a true freshman from the state of California, big kid. If you don't know who this kid is, well, you'll know who he is next year for sure, because Trevor Lawrence is going in the NFL, and he will most likely be the heir apparent to Lawrence. He's 6'5", 240 pounds. He is basically Cam Newton in a college uniform. And by the way, he's a better passer than Cam Newton ever was. Anyway, he's 11 for 15, 73.3% completion percentage, 91 yards and 0 touchdowns. He does have a rushing touchdown, I believe, or 2. Let's look at the running backs. Everybody knows Travis Etienne. Carried the ball 39 times for 243 yards, 6.2 yards per carry, and only 2 touchdowns on the ground. He's actually had a better year receiving than he has running so far. Look down at the bottom of your screen there under the rushing category. Who leads the team in rushing touchdowns? That's right. It's not Etienne. It's not Rencher. It's not the recently transferred DeMarcus Bowman. It's Trevor Lawrence with 3. DJ Uiagalelei has 2. That's a total of 5 between 2 quarterbacks. And the reason I like to look at stats is not to say, oh, look, this guy's got better stats than that guy, but it reveals something about the team that you might not have known. And if you didn't know, Clemson is a run-first football team, whether it's with the quarterback or the running backs. We think of Trevor Lawrence as an air-it-out, pocket passer, which he is and can do. But this has been and always will be a run-first football team as long as Dabo Swinney's the head coach. Let's move on to the receivers. Amari Rodgers having an amazing year after coming off of an injury last year, at ACL surgery. 12 receptions for 206 yards, 17.2 yards on average, and 3 touchdowns through the air. Frank Ladson Jr., expecting him to have a breakout year this year, and he's having a good start so far. Didn't really play, I think he had a catch or 2 against Virginia. Expected to see more out of him against the Cavaliers. But Amari Rodgers really stole the show as far as the wide receivers went in that game. Anyway, he's got 9 catches for 179 yards, almost 20 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns through the air. The key to this offense that we haven't seen in the past few years is the tight end position. Ever since Jordan Leggett went to the NFL, of course, everybody remembers Jordan Leggett and the 2016 national championship team for the Clemson Tigers. Brandon Galloway is probably the best receiving tight end we've seen since Leggett left, and we are expecting to use him a lot more. He's got 7 receptions on the year for 77 yards, an average of 11 per catch. He has yet to reach the end zone. All right, so the keys to the game. Can Miami's defense get enough pressure on Trevor Lawrence to make him uncomfortable and make bad decisions? And on the other side of the ball, can the Clemson Tigers stop this dual running attack between King and Harris from the Miami Hurricanes? Those are the 2 keys to the game. Final score prediction for me is going to be 45-31. Clemson on top. Let me know your comments down in the comment section. And of course, tonight at 10 p.m., I want all the Hurricanes fans to rise up, call into Pigskin Pete's show, and let's talk about it. Have a great day. Pigskin Pete is checking out.